In the course of our daily lives, we often use or come across items and objects that seem simple and ordinary, but in many cases have a very useful and special function hidden away. After all, have you ever wondered why pins have a small hole in the side? And what is the function of the raise strokes on the F and J keys on your computer? Well, it's exactly the function of these and a few other items that we're going to show you in today's video. 20 things you don't know what they're for. Small pocket on jeans. And let's start by talking about the famous small pocket on jeans, which leaves many people wondering why it exists, given that there is already a large pocket on the pants. And the truth is that there is a very interesting story about the origin of the small pocket on jeans. Originally, it was designed to hold pocket watches, mainly for cowboys who needed a safe place to keep their watches while riding. However, with the passage of time and the evolution of the population's daily accessories, pocket watches ended up being used less and less, and so this pocket was adapted to store small objects such as coins and keys, remaining to this day a traditional element in the design of jeans. Hole in the padlock. You may never have noticed this detail, but if you look closely at the underside of the padlock, you can see a small hole right next to the entrance where you insert the key, and contrary to what it may seem, this small hole has a very important function. This is because it allows water to drain out and lubricant to enter, which is essential to prevent the mechanism from oxidizing and freezing in cold climates, ensuring that the lock continues to work properly. Keys F and J on the keyboard. If you have a computer, you may have noticed a small detail on the F and J keys on your keyboard. These keys have a small raised line that can be felt by our fingers when we click on one of them, and that's exactly what they are for, to guide the person typing as to the position of the fingers and the letters when typing without having to look at the keyboard. Hole at the end of the tape measure. Now we're going to talk about a hidden detail in the tape measure, a very common measuring tool that is often seen being used during construction. If you've ever used a tape measure to measure something, you've probably noticed a small hole at the end of its hook. And although it may seem like just a small detail to many, this little hole actually has a very useful function, as it can be used to attach the tape measure to nails or screws, thus allowing the person measuring to have their hands free to measure the object being analyzed without the risk of the tape measure coming loose or coming out of place. Serrated edge of the tape measure. Another important detail at the end of the tape measure, a serrated edge. Just as in the case of the small hole we've just mentioned, this is another detail so small that in most cases it may not even be noticed by most people, but which has a very important function for builders who use this tool. This is because, as you can see in these images, the serrated edge of the tape measure allows a small mark to be made on the material or object being measured, making it easier to identify exactly when the tape measure is removed. Hole in the airplane window. If you've ever ridden in an airplane, you may have noticed a small hole in its glass windows. But what is its function? Well, this small hole in airplane windows plays a crucial role in maintaining the air pressure inside the cabin, as it allows the pressure between the passenger cabin and the outer fuselage to remain balanced. In addition, this hole also helps to prevent the windows from fogging up and freezing, thus guaranteeing passenger visibility and contributing to flight safety. Blue part of the eraser. Over the years, the blue part of the eraser has become quite famous for being interpreted as a tool for erasing pinning, but it actually has a slightly different specific function. It was designed to erase stronger marks on surfaces such as wood, cardboard, and plastic, where its rigidity and abrasive texture are more effective. Contrary to popular belief, the blue part is not ideal for erasing pen ink on ordinary paper, as it can damage the paper. However, for more resistant papers, this part of the eraser can be useful, acting like sandpaper to remove surface layers where graphite or ink is present. Aluminum lid. When we buy our lunch or a dessert, many of the packages come with a thin aluminum lid on top of the food, which obviously serves the purpose of hygiene and protecting the food. But did you know that these aluminum lids can have an additional function? That's right. They can also be used as an improvised spoon. All you have to do is bend the aluminum like this, and you'll have a spoon to eat your lunch or dessert with. Just don't forget to make sure it's well sanitized, right? Hole in the lollipop stick. Another small detail that has a very important function is the hole in the lollipop stick. Considering that children are the main consumers of this sweet, The hollow design of the stick with a hole in the side serves to reduce the risk of suffocation. If a child or even an adult swallows the stick, air can still pass through the hole, reducing the risk of suffocation. In addition, this hole helps to keep the lollipop fixed during production, handling, and transportation, ensuring that it reaches the consumer intact. Hole in the side of the pins. If you take a pin and look closely at the side of it, you'll probably find a small hole. But what is this hole for? Well, although it doesn't seem to be of any use, this hole in the side of ballpoint pens serves to equalize the atmospheric pressure inside and outside the pin. This is essential to allow the ink to flow consistently and without leaks, regardless of changes in the surrounding air pressure. So, although it may seem useless, if this hole didn't exist, it wouldn't be possible to use the pin inside an airplane or on top of a very tall building, for example. Hole in the soda can tab. When drinking a soda, for example, you may have noticed that there is a small hole in the seal that we use to open the can. But have you ever wondered what it's for? It has a practical and intelligent function, as it has been designed in such a way that it serves to hold a straw. This prevents the straw from moving or falling into or out of the can while we are drinking. Certainly a simple but effective innovation, right? Hole in the saucepan handles. Although many people think that the hole in the saucepan handle is for hanging the saucepan and saving space in the kitchen, this ingenious little detail has another very important use during the food preparation process. This is because you can fit the spoon or spatula you are using to stir the food directly into this hole, thus helping to keep the kitchen environment clean. Arrow on the fuel gauge. Another detail you've probably never noticed, an indicator arrow on the fuel gauge of vehicles, which serves as a practical indication of which side of the car the fuel tank cap is located. This is especially useful when driving a rental or unfamiliar car, avoiding the need to get out of the vehicle or stretch out to check, since with this simple arrow, drivers can position themselves correctly at the fuel pumps, facilitating the refueling process. Orange or red balls. This detail, unlike most of the others on this list, you may have already noticed at some point, but you may not yet know its function. We're talking about the usually orange or red balls that we see on high-voltage wires, which serve as safety devices for signaling. In other words, they are installed to increase the visibility of the wires for airplane and helicopter pilots, helping to prevent accidents. For this reason, although they may seem simple, these balls are very useful and important, especially in areas near airports or on common flight routes. Tic-Tac lid. You're probably already familiar with the famous Tic Tac, which has a clever design feature on the lid of its box that many consumers don't know about. Although it's a detail that goes unnoticed by most people, on the lid of the Tic Tac box, there is a small slot that allows you to remove a single bullet at a time, ensuring a controlled dose and avoiding waste. Hole in the pin cap. Another detail on pins, this time on the cap. When you look at the cap of a pin, you will probably have noticed that it has a small hole in it, and this is a very important design feature that has a safety purpose. This is because it is designed to prevent choking accidents if the cap is accidentally swallowed. Although it doesn't seem like it, this can happen more easily than you might think, especially with children or when someone chews on the lid while thinking or distracted. So, in cases where someone accidentally swallows a pin cap, this hole allows air to pass through, which can be crucial for maintaining breathing if the cap gets stuck in the throat, thus significantly reducing the risk of suffocation. Holes in the backpack. Known as a pig's nose, because of its appearance reminiscent of the animal's nose, this small detail on many backpacks was originally developed so that it could be used by adventurers and campers to attach additional equipment or accessories to their backpacks, thus maximizing storage space without compromising comfort. However, with the passage of time, this additional detail has been retained and has become more common in various types of backpack. Nowadays, as well as retaining this functionality, in many cases these holes can also be used for ventilation, helping to reduce the accumulation of heat and humidity. Hole in a spaghetti spoon. This is another detail that often goes unnoticed. When you see this hole in the spaghetti spoon, many people think that it's useful for removing the pasta from the pot and allowing the water to drain out. And that's not wrong, as this is indeed one of the functions of this hole in the spoon, but it also serves to measure out the exact amount of spaghetti for an individual portion. This way, when you insert the still raw spaghetti into the hole, the amount that fits into it is usually the ideal portion for one person. Rivets on jeans pockets. Another detail on jeans has a very interesting history and a practical function. We're talking about the rivets on the pockets of jeans, which were originally introduced to reinforce the seams of the pockets, which were areas of great tension and wear, especially for workers who carried out heavy tasks or who often kept their tools in the pockets. In this way, these small metal discs helped prevent the pockets from tearing, increasing the durability of the pants. Today, although the resistance of fabrics has improved, rivets remain a traditional element in the design of jeans, maintaining a connection with their robust and functional origin. Plastic and PET bottle caps. And finally, let's talk about the plastic that can be found on the inside of PET bottle caps. Although it may seem like just another useless detail, this plastic actually has a very important function in serving as a seal to prevent gas or liquid from escaping from the bottle, which is essential for preserving the taste and quality of drinks. But what about you? Do you know of anything else common in our daily lives that has an unknown special function? Let us know in the comments what you thought of the video, and if you liked it, subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all the content we bring here. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for watching and see you next time.